Hello to all my viewers, this is Magicalamazing, and last week I made a video on my PPSH 41. In that video I also said I was going to be making a tutorial on it, so I'm going to be splitting the tutorial into 3 parts. This first one is going to be on the stock and magazine assembly. The first thing I'm going to do, as usual, is make the stock, and that's going to involve sketching it full size onto a couple pieces of paper. You can use that stencil to trace the stock onto a piece of cardboard and cut out 2 of that shape. Next, I cut out an oval from the left side of the stock, which will be for the rear sling mount insert. The insert looks like this, and I reinforced the back of it with a very tightly rolled piece of paper. It's important to note that if you want to use a real sling, your cutouts have to be at least 2 centimeters wide. Once I fasten the sling mount insert onto the side of the stock, I cut out the strip that's going to attach the 2 halves. Here you can see the stock after I've attached the 2 halves together from that strip. You can see the sling mount in there, and you'll notice that there is an opening at the front. The next step was to trace and cut out the shape that will turn into the sides of the magazine well. On this piece of cardboard, I've traced that shape and mirrored it, and I left a gap in between. This gap is going to be just wide enough so that you can fit the stock inside of it. After cutting out the shape I just sketched, I ended up with a piece that looked like this. I'm going to bend this on the lines to turn it into the magazine well. After ensuring that the magazine well was in the right shape, I started work on the magazine by cutting out these 2 circles for the sides. And here you can see me using a strip to connect the 2 halves together. This is what the magazine looks like. It's just a very shallow cylinder at this point. So here's that piece we cut out before, and that's going to be what the magazine goes inside of. Sorry for the shaky camera work. I was attempting to do this with one hand, but the point still gets across. You need to make sure that the magazine fits perfectly inside of that slot. Now here comes the hard part. I made this absolutely tiny piece which is going to turn into the magazine release button. Because the scale of this is impossible to tell and there isn't really any real references, it is 18 millimeters wide by 30 millimeters long. The little divot you see in there is going to be used as an anchor point for what will become the hinge, a very small rolled up piece of paper. I then cut out these 2 tiny pieces which will hold the hinge onto the main body of the gun. Once again, because there's no real reference, these pieces, as oriented in the video, are 18 millimeters from top to bottom. Here you can see those 2 pieces in conjunction with the piece I made before, with the hinge glued already to the magazine release button. I cut a notch out of the rear of the magazine well, which will be where I am going to fit the button. I actually have it oriented the wrong way in this video, so ignore that. Here you can also see I've attached a piece to the front part of the magazine well to hold it in its shape. I took this time to prettify the magazine, make it look more realistic by putting a couple decorations on there, you know, the wind-up handle and things like that. They're all aesthetic though and don't really do anything. Now with the magazine inserted into the magazine well, you can see where the little lever is going to go. It's going to be anchored right about there so that it can swivel and just touch the side of the magazine. Now those little anchors there, which is going to keep that magazine release lever in place, you'll see where I'm going to put them. Right like that. The notch is going to go over the pin. Here you can see I've glued both anchors in place, but I've attached them only to the inside of the magazine well. This is going to allow the lever to turn freely. Here's what I hope is a bit of a better view on how it's connected. So once you've got that in place, now you need the piece on the magazine itself. Here you can see the little lip that I've created on the magazine. This is the magazine well. Ignore that little piece on the end of the handle there. That's just for demonstration purposes, like you can see. And now I'll show you where that little notch fits. Right there. Inside of the magazine well, right in front of the catch. Once the magazine is in, you push that forward, you can see the magazine catch, stopping the magazine from being able to fall out. Now when you push the magazine release forward, it will detach from that little lip and allow the magazine through. And so ends the first part of our tutorial here. I hope you enjoyed and I hope this helps you. This is Magicalamazing signing off till next time. See y'all later.